this computer. Okay, 3, 2, 1. How exciting, everybody. As you know, I'm Dan Winter, fractalfield.com, FLAMEINMIND.com, and I am here today with not just Patrick Botte, our wonderful programmer for all our biofeedback apps, especially FLAMEINMIND.com, but our special guest today, Jean-Charles Moyen.
Hello.
Jean-Charles is famous, excuse me very much, but he's very famous. He's a movie maker, and he's also famous because being one of the premier SSP secret space program survivors, representing the French view, actually. And he, along with I, have done a lot of work with Elena Danaan, probably more him than me. And he's a movie maker. And the point for today is that we're here to talk about the science, the physics of how his lucid dreams turned into what is effectively a Stargate portal, and what the physics of that. And he's going to tell you the story. When he had lucid dreaming, even as a kid, he had incredible ability, like went to the beach and came back with sand between his toes, and there were witnesses. Oh my God. And that story has been told in the films, and the links will be with this movie. And Jean-Charles is going to tell us more in a minute. The point was, then Jean-Charles came to me and said, hey, Dan, we were playing with Elena Danaan together. And he said, we really should measure some of this stuff. Where's the science? And he's making a new film right now. Jean-Charles, what's your new film called?
My new film is Starseed Revelation 2, the part 2 of my first. It's not a movie; it's a documentary, because my next movie was South Shore 2, but it realized in next year, because with a lot of things in the world, I can't shoot, and now I prefer focus my mind to the sequel of my documentary, because it's very important. The first part, the people love it and tell me, oh, do you have a witness? Do you have a proof? And there is something very, very strange in the universe, the gift of the star, because a lot of witness saw my first movie and tell me, Jean-Charles, I want you testimony what I live with you in a few years, in the 32 years, in the 22 years, and my parents too. So every people know me and live with me in a lot of years can testimony for my next movie. So I decide to make the sequel about 2 or 3 hours, unbelievable, with a lot of witness about me and my story.
And so when Jean-Charles came back from these incredible Stargate portal type of lucid dreams that became so real, ... question mark, that it seems hard for physics to understand, how were you there literally? And remember that Jean-Charles and I, working with Elena Danaan, the film I made with Elena Danaan on the physics of what a Stargate portal is a direct extension of the physics and science of what lucid dreaming is, how it's triggered by implosive compression in the aura. And so when Jean-Charles came to me and said exactly that, like, well, let's talk about the science, we knew intuitively that the physics had to be similar to what we've been working on, which is that when the harmonics in the aura are implosive or compressive, so the aura becomes very dense at the center. And what's enabled them is the less coherent transverse electromagnetic due to the squeezing implosive process through the Planck threshold. What emerges is what's called longitudinal EMF coherence, sometimes called scalar torsional vril, Ba from the Ka, or the Kesjan body, many names for that. But it's actually a coherent longitudinal field array, which is embeddable. So the physics had to be that Jean-Charles' psychometric, his brainwave and his breath, had to enter a certain harmonic series to, in fact, become centripetal and implosive. Of course, Patrick and I have spent our lifetime documenting what that is. And so we introduced Jean-Charles to Patrick, and Patrick spent amazing time working on this together. And is at the end of the third step in this film is he's going to show you the analysis of what happened next, which is, so Jean-Charles actually did his homework. He was dedicated, and he got the Muse headset for FLAMEINMIND.com, the brainwave analysis, and he got the heart rate variability, a very simple chest strap, a polar chest strap. that measures the low frequencies of the heart, which is the breath, called heart rate variability pulse analysis. And so we were able to measure, thanks to Jean-Charles. In fact, Jean-Charles did a short recording, which we're about to talk about. Maybe, Jean-Charles, could you tell us just in a minute, what was the situation when you made that recording we're about to analyze? So were you about to sleep at that time, or?
No. I was in my office and working about my new documentary. And I feel inside of me, it's time to test. And I decide to set in my chair, and I put the apparels, and I look my board with a Hawaii plate and the picture of me and Michael Sala, and I think, oh, I do anything to be here.
I see. So there was a yearning.
Yes, like when I was a teenager, and I feel, oh, I want to go to my girlfriend, and I feel something inside of me, a warm around me, and tingling, and something strange in my brain, and suddenly I feel warm and very hot, and at this time, my brainwave.
Yeah, he had extremely coherent alpha beta cascades, and we're about to look at that. In fact, we're going to see, we actually have the physics to show what was happening electrically. So that was an implosive moment, you know, where the survivors of the Montauk in Philadelphia tram travel experiences, they went to the bar they were yearning to go to at that moment. And I would also say that when I first measured bliss in brainwaves at FLAMEINMIND.com on the cover, I was feeling bliss because I was seeing that the brainwave harmonics were working. So I was actually yearning for the bliss. So the yearning fit the pattern, which was there's a moment when there's a centripetal identification with the climax moment, literally union with. And that embedding process up till now has been religious psychology. And what we're here to say today is, now we have the electrical engineering physics. So this brings us to the background of the conversation. So what I'm going to do a 10-minute now intro to the physics of what we believe is the actual physics of lucid dreaming and how lucid dreaming can become a stargate. And then Jean-Charles is going to describe just a little bit about his experiment. And then importantly, Patrick is going to do a detailed analysis of the actual brain waves and heart harmonics that were measured when Jean-Charles made his recording. So I'm just doing a little desktop share here, and we have this web article. The article that's going to be a review of what we're talking about today is FLAMEINMIND.com/lucidbrain. And Jean-Charles is going to be kind of the star of this project, in which he's the premier example. So lucid dreaming physics may be the most important breakthrough in the physics of consciousness for our generation. Anyone wishing to describe the physics of consciousness now must explain where and how consciousness exists outside the body. Since globally it's known that surgeons, MDs have reported their out-of-body experiences in excruciating detail, only longitudinal plasma projection into this array, this field, has any possibility to address this elephant in the room for the physics of consciousness study. We've been teaching longitudinal interferometry, EMF coherence, physics of consciousness, propagation out of the body for a decade. Many of our films and documentaries on this are at FLAMEINMIND.com/conjugate minds. We've been teaching, this more than theory of the physics of what lucid dreaming is for a long time. Essentially, we have shown by measurement that during implosive compression electrically, what we're about to talk about with Jean-Charles, measured by golden ratio and octave cascades of coherence. Basically, there's a caduceus shape in the harmonics of the brain waves, which is the name and purpose and proof of FLAMEINMIND.com. What happens electrically is that the normally less coherent transverse EMF propagation of the body's order implodes exactly at the Planck's length and time threshold by exact phase conjugate fractal golden ratio tuning to the Planck threshold, and then begins to much more coherently emit EMF out as longitudinal coherent EMF, incorrectly called scalar. The result is eventually to embed within and inhabit the fractal sacred longitudinal array of nodes, sometimes called dreaming tracks, song lines, Earth grid sacred lines, heaven, plains of Sharon, Champs-Élysées. You know, there's so many names for this, but when have the scientists described what the process is? That's why we are here. So getting leverage on this grid is well documented in Aboriginal lore and most every indigenous wisdom tradition. This array, sometimes called sacred space, has been measured extensively. Korotkov showed fractal air, enabled ancestor phone calls with the Kogi, and Kozyrev proved telepathy was enabled at this fractal array nodes. And here's the measurement links, goldenmean.info/architecture and geobiology. The purpose of this article and this conversation is a deeper exploration of the physics, both brainwave and plasma science, of what electrically enables lucid dreaming, ultimately the point in John Charles' case, where it actually becomes a portal or a stargate. Earlier, we provide extensive evidence that phase conjugate plasma, like Therify.net, actively supports and triggers lucid dreaming. We replicated a field effect where we can trigger lucid dreaming. And here's the article at Therify.net, the blog there, Myra's report of triggering dramatic lucid dreaming in the implosive plasma field, which incidentally shows the same harmonic, uses the same harmonics that we're about to measure in John Charles' aura. Precisely for the reasons articulated above, longitudinal compression, sacred space, coherent, implosive, EEG triggers brainwaves, triggers the emergence of a coherent longitudinal field around the body. The Egyptians called this the Ba from the Ka. Gurdjieff called it the Kesjan body. This is directly related to the emergence of the Vril field from the Vimana Nazi bell. By longitudinal emission, a gravity wave from an analogous tuned plasma vortex. So here's a picture of that plasma vortex. So basically, these are the harmonics in the brainwave, the same as the harmonics actually in hydrogen, golden ratio, caduceus-shaped cascade called phase conjugate. And in that process, the transverse field is compressed and squeezed out the toothpaste tube, emerging on the right as a longitudinal electromagnetic field. That's the coherence field. And inhabiting that, which is literally embedding in a larger array, initially enables lucid dreaming and ultimately enables a stargate to form. And the film I made with Elena Danan on the physics of stargates is here in this article. And then we have the fact that in today's conversation, we're going to be featuring really a triumph for Patrick here, is just in the process of the most exciting upgrade we've ever made to FLAMEINMIND.com, which is the Flame in Mind Brain Heart Link coherence. So a new way of displaying brain heart coherence. And Patrick is going to display that in a moment. It's amazing because you can actually see when your breath HRV entrains the low frequencies in your brainwave and prove that your heart is in fact hooked to your head. So then we go into Jean Charles's background here. So at the link, Jean Charles Moyen, his major YouTube site and his film links and his filmography, his Starseed 1, and now it will be Starseed 2, which this is a teaser for. Everybody, this is going to be the climax of the film. Isn't that exciting? And his South Shore film. So the links are there. It is critical to note here that the centerpiece of most of John Charles' amazing story is his consistent ability to lucid dream so powerfully that he regularly comes back with sand, water items, which prove he's been there. Oh, and what that means and why. So what a stargate is. So Jean Charles asked for my help to do this. And we hypothesized that those harmonics would in fact be present and show that compression. So now here at this link is a film of Jean Charles actually doing this. But I think Patrick, since he worked on this, is going to actually display these graphics later, just for a teaser here. And really, this is for Patrick's analysis. But you see the huge infrasound, low frequency brain coherence, which is entrained from the HRV coherence, and the incredible, here's the, and Patrick will explain this incredible strong alpha peak, which, by the way, Jean Charles, in your case, most of that was left brain dominant in your case, actually extreme. So the extreme alpha coherence, and there's that cascade, and Patrick's going to talk about this in much more detail. And I'm going to stop this screen share because I'm going to leave this to Patrick to tell that story. But just to say, Jean Charles, it is, some people say that left brain dominant means, logical as opposed to intuitive, but it means one other thing, actually, I believe. When we say the right brain is intuitive, what we mean is it's centripetal. When we see the left brain as logical, what we mean is it's centrifugal. Now, in fact, if you were doing projection of plasma, literally the squirt gun has to work. So it would make sense that at that moment, your left brain, the projective part, was more active. Of course, this is subjective, but what we can say for sure is extreme alpha coherence and left brain dominance, which could correlate to a plasma projective more than a plasma receptive just at that moment. So anyway, Jean-Charles is now going to tell us just a brief review of some of the most exciting parts of those stories. And then Patrick is going to review the analysis in terms of, for Jean-Charles, what he was feeling and how this happened, that so many of his powerful lucid dream became actually a portal stargate experience. Jean-Charles.
Yes. It was the same thing and the same feeling when I was young and I was teleported in the toilet of my school and go to the toilet of my parents' apartment in a few kilometers. I was in the toilet in the school, and suddenly I was dizzy and I feel warm around me and tingling like in my office. And suddenly, when I opened my eyes, in a second, I was outside.
In a different place, a different place.
In different place, and the door was locked, and we are in a 3rd floor and no windows, and the locksmith go to open the door, and no Jean-Charles. So my parents must lie about the director to feel, oh, my son was sick and blah blah blah. Because it's at this time there is a 40 years, it's unbelievable to say that, and I don't want to go to the psychiatric. This is the first time. It was not consciousness, because I disappeared suddenly and I was in the toilet. So I don't want to go outside. I am in the exam in the exam school. So, but after that, when I was 80. I was in my room, and I feel I won't go to with my girlfriend. And at this time, I remember I do anything to be with her, with my girlfriend, and I see in my my left eyes and my right eyes different picture, a picture of my room. Was I'm here, and the picture of the room of my girlfriend, and suddenly the two picture cross. And I feel something when you stand up very speed. I am dizzy, and when I open my eyes, I was no pants, just my sweatshirt, t-shirt. And I was in a few kilometers in right from the door of the apartment of my girlfriend. No keys, no shoes. I live in the 9th floor in a building in Paris. Everything was in my room. So my mother go to the apartment and call my father, and honey, we have a problem. Jean-Charles disappeared. Oh, what do you mean? Every closes he's here. Oh my God, he teleports. Okay, I go. And my father bring me back my clothes, and this was the part of my life very, very important, because I remember when I was in this state, I was in the same state yesterday when I tested the
right. Perfect.
Yes, it was the same thing. I feel the same thing, the same feeling, with the warm and the tingling and my unconsciousness 1 second, and I was very near to do the same thing. I'm sure.
Yeah,
I'm
exactly.
Sure. So the recording is very important, because it's not in my brain or I imagine something. No, it's right in the software.
Exactly. So, yeah. And Jean-Charles even hypothesized that one of the reasons he was taken for the secret space program was he had this amazing electrical talent or skill inside his aura. and
Yes.
to lucid dream and to be, we've been studying what a portal is, but imagine an aura powerful enough that you can be the portal. So now, this sounds like science fiction until we look at the physics.
Yeah, for my aura, never seen before, the white aura, because you don't see me in my aura because she's very strong.
Yeah, exactly.
And I remember when I test my aura in this big symposium in France, every light in the center shut down. And I remember in my eyes, there is two little LED, it's like a research. And when the guys open the photo, he say, "Oh my God, I never seen that," because I have a lot of picture in the world, a Tibetan monk and a lot of things, but you are unique. I never seen before. And it's like you are protected by the star, or are you extraterrestrial? Can I keep this photograph? No. My father said, no, you don't keep this photograph of my son. I keep, and this is the proof, because I have a lot of many research in the world, and never seen before this aura. And my daughter, when I was when she was young and she was in the bed, she tell me, "Oh, Daddy, it's too bright, but we are in the dark." And my daughter saw my aura. It was unbelievable.
That's great. So Jean-Charles is more than a natural flashbulb. The point is, the actual skill to implode your aura is the moment you become plasma projective. And we're linking that to the deep psychology of yearning and focus and will and intent, and in fact, embeddability, which relates to compassion itself. So this leads us beautifully now to, this is going to become an open conversation in a few minutes, but first, the next step here is Patrick. So basically, the idea now is Patrick has done, remember that Patrick has been working on this software to measure brain connection and heart rate variability. We literally call it a flame in mind, FLAMEINMIND.com, because of exactly what Jean-Charles just said. It was a flame in his mind, literally. So this is, Patrick has dedicated his life to that. And he's just upgraded this software to powerfully show another aspect of this in Jean-Charles' aura, which is the heart-brain connection, as well as the beautiful brain harmonics. So at this point, I think we turn this over to Patrick for about 10 minutes or so, and he's going to share this analysis of the recording that Jean-Charles just made.
Okay, so I will share my screen.
Okay.
Do you see my screen now?
Yes, and the film should be just coming in, I think.
Okay, so it's coming. It should come. Okay, so this is the film of Jean-Charles that I have updated with new display of the app. So he's explaining he plays a polar chess trap, and then so I will speed it up, and then he put the Muse headset and start.
Patrick, speak loudly, and the sound from that film kind of obscures your voice a little bit. So speak loudly. Go ahead, Patrick. Sorry.
Wait, maybe I can. Okay.
Yeah.
Maybe it should be.
So this, you can see Jean-Charles is actually doing the recording.
So he's doing the recording, and then the recording starts. And after a while, he told me, I discussed a little bit with Jean-Charles since he made the recording, and he told me that he tried twice to go out of his body, to be teleported. And so we will arrive at the first part here. You see that the brain waves are very, I have to decrease a lot the size of the brain wave, because when you get these states, it was awful. It was going out of the screen. So that's the reason why now, for the moment, you don't see anything on the screen. And then we arrive at the...
then it's off the charts.
And as Dana mentioned, a marvelous alpha peak, but very, very big alpha peak, and on the left brain. And so he stay for a 1 minute or so, and then come back again. This is the first part. You see all the,
and there's a geometry to that cascade that Patrick is going to analyze.
I will show the, and then he stopped for a while and start again after a while. This is the second try. Which is coming now.
Yeah, see, the immediate huge flash.
Again, the same thing, but very, very big brain wave, and it's almost the same thing that we have with kids which can see without their eyes. And you see that. And now it's stopped. And so what we can do also, this is a 2-minute display here, that during the moment that he went off, let's say like this, its heart rate was increased a lot also.
That's the HRV heart rate in red on the bottom.
Yeah, but maybe it should be easier to zoom on the different part. And then, so this is what we can see on the brainwave spectrum. In fact, we have our way of analysis is try to find golden ratio and octave ratio related to the alpha peak. And this is an example here. You see the golden ratio are in pink and the phi ratio are in light blue.
That is, if you start with the alpha in green, that becomes the base point, and we calculate golden ratio in pink and octave in blue from there. I'm sorry, golden ratio in blue. Golden ratio in pink, I'm sorry, yes. But it's
golden ratio in pink and the phi ratio are in blue.
It starts based on the alpha peak frequency.
Yes,
so there's frequency.
So we start at the alpha peak and then we multiply this alpha peak by the golden ratio or by factor 2 for the octave. And that we are looking in the spectrum if there are other peaks which are coming according to this ratio.
And Patrick mentioned that that's exciting because that's exactly how Patrick identified the moment when the kids could see without their eyes, right, Patrick?
Yes, it's really, well, it's not exactly the same because it's much stronger. The amplitude of the brainwave are much bigger with Jean-Charles than with the kid. But the shape of the brainwave during this part of the session is almost the same.
So Jean-Charles was more coherent. Yeah.
It's much stronger. Yes, clearly. And what we can see here, well, there are a few examples again with golden ratio and phi ratio that you can see that there are in the yellow shape, which is some kind of summary of what's happening in the brainwave, which it's easier to see exactly the golden ratio with a single peak. And you see that there are a lot of things. Well, you see here with my mouse, you see there is a golden ratio, an octave ratio, and on the top, both of them on the same part of the speed.
Which is at the gamma range, right?
Yes, and it's mainly around 50 hertz or a little bit below 50 hertz. And you see on these 3 examples, when you start from the alpha peak and then you go up with golden ratio and octave ratio, there is a place when we have almost the same frequency for golden ratio and octave ratio. And you see that each time on the 3 display here, 3 example here, you have something happening there.
Yes. And originally those gamma frequencies were called Tibetan gamma because that correlated to the moments when the Tibetans were measurably most psychokinetic as well.
Yeah. Yes, it's really amazing. But this kind of shape is exactly the same kind of shape that we have with the kids also.
But Jean-Charles,
yes,
Jean-Charles is just more higher amplitude there, which indicates
much higher amplitude. And also, what is very interesting too is that, well, he's creating a very big alpha peak on the left brain, and for the kids, there are no alpha or almost no alpha.
Not as much. Yeah.
Here we have a very big alpha.
Yeah. Remember, the alpha is literally the Schumann harmonic. So you're literally phase locked with the Earth and the Earth grid as a way to get leverage. And then cascade triggers that implosion, which allows you to embed and literally launch yourself into that array. That's the hypothesis, and the physics seems to prove that.
But you will see in the next, yes, okay, on the next slide. In fact, well, this is a summary of the recording. And you see on the right, this is HRV. So the HRV is going really up almost 90 beats per minute.
Heart rate.
Well, you see, and this is the increase in pink of the gamma, and in blue of the beta. And that's the shape that we find here for the theory of. But what is very important is this peak here. We have, and this peak is very interesting because it's not really related to the Schumann frequency, which should be here between 7 and 8. But this peak is exactly in the frontier of alpha and beta. You see?
I see. So his alpha frequency was at the high end of the alpha range.
Yes, it's the top of the alpha frequency.
Which probably enabled that cascade, because that's where higher up the cascade, then the gamma is an overlap of the golden ratio and octave.
Yeah, it's really.
But very important on the bottom right, you see that. So basically, the heart rate went way up when we got that leverage. And then are you also going to show the slide which shows the HRV Mayer type analysis?
Yes, it's the next one. But you see here, as Jean-Charles explained, it was a first try here, and then a second try here.
Showed up directly in the heart
So
rate.
directly, there is a jump in HRV.
Yes.
But when we watch the movie, it's not it's not moving at all. Huh? Let's watch him while doing. There is no movement at all. There is nothing.
It was the stillness.
Yes, it's completely stillness. And
okay.
Well, this is another analysis which will be available probably in July, and we are also measuring the very low wave frequency of the brain. So it's called infrabrainwave, and it's around 0.1 Hertz. And it's very interesting here. You will see in white here, this is the very low part of the brainwave. And we have a frequency of about 6 cycles per minute. This is the peak here.
Which is the Mayer wave, the 0.1 Hertz.
Which is the variation of the blood pressure inside the body. And this is a frequency which is used for coherence.
It's
the most important frequency in the body. It's the key to the HRV LF. It's the key to the spine liquid pump.
Here, but I will enlarge the display. So you see, it's the same display, but enlarged. So in white is the spectrum in cycles per minute of the brainwave. And in red, it is HRV spectrum. And you see that there is also a peak in a very, very low frequency, which is around, well, let's say 2 cycles, a little bit less than 2 cycles per minute. And this is, this can be the frequency of the emptiness of the brainwave, of the brain ventricles. So it's the frequency of the spinal liquid pump.
So the spine liquid pump triggers that moment when the ventricles actually drain, and there's that, the ventricle horde mechanism of Kundalini, and that's on the left there at around 2 cycles per minute. And then further right, around 6 cycles per minute, which is about 0.1 Hertz, there's the major white peak, which is brain infrasound, but not the red peak. But in some cases, we see both. But the point is the drama of this new release of Flame in Mind, which displays the brain infrasound right along with the heart infrasound, and shows the heart-brain connection directly. It's amazing. Congratulations, Patrick. And congratulations, John. So yes, you were going to say about, so there you almost have a Mayer wave breath on the lower left in the red. Is that right, Patrick? That
I'm speechless with your analysis. It's wow.
So your brain heart was profoundly connected at just below 2 cycles per minute, very long wave. You literally grabbed a long wave, in the sense of ride the long wave, Uncle Joe, and surfers of the Shibuya.
Mm-hmm.
But Patrick, we wanted you to finish there, and then we chat.
Yes, it was the last slide. So
Yeah.
I will stop sharing my screen. But I have a question for Jean-Charles. When he was talking that before going to his girlfriend place, that he was seeing on one eye one place, and with the other eyes the other place.
Mm-hmm.
Can you say it again? In which eyes were your original place, and which eyes will be the next one?
Ooh.
I remember my left eyes was my room, and my right eyes was the place of my girlfriend. And yesterday, I remember the same thing. I forget to tell that. In these eyes, in left eyes, I was in my office, and in these eyes, I remember the moment when I was on the beach with my friend Michael, and with the wave and the blue ocean, and I was very oh my God, it's a good feeling, and it began to cross, and I was afraid, I don't know why, and this stopped. And after 1 second or 3 seconds, I try again, but it's not working. But everything was recording. So it's happened something real, because everything is in a software now. But my eyes was the same thing. When I was to try to teleport, I see two picture, two photo in different eyes, and it's cross. And after that, I feel a warm around me and a little dizziness, and I lost consciousness 1 second. And when I open my eyes, I am in other place. This is the twice. This is the same thing when I was a kid.
I think that's a beautiful sensitivity to what's happening. You really tuned into your own inner experience. And if I may say, I think that description may fit the physics beautifully, because if the right eye, you were seeing where you were going, which is tied to the left brain, where we're seeing dramatic plasma projective left brain, the projective side, and the left eye tied to the right brain, which is where you were. It sort of fits. The receptive intuitive is actually the implosive side of the brain, and the projective logical left brain is the plasma projective, literally implosion versus explosion. Point would be then that when you achieve the implosion of where the two come to phase lock, that implosion allows you to then ride that wave and inhabit the bigger array. So that's the Stargate moment. And actually, your intuition tells you when you're ready to ride that Stargate. Obviously, you don't want to create that Stargate unless the intent is there. And there are many conditions that enable safety when you propagate in that array as well. Namely, the send point and the receive point would ideally be nearer to magnetic line cross, enabling more inertia, which is literally why, when the ETs set up a Stargate, they use natural magnetic earth line cross points to do that. So there could be a very interesting conversation about the physics of that. But Patrick, did you get your question answered? Sorry, go ahead.
Yes, but so it's related to what we have seen. So it's the big alpha is on the left brain.
Yeah, exactly.
And the big peaks are also on the left brain. So the right brain is much lower than the left brain.
The receiving side was tuned down a bit, so the ascending side was projective. But Jean-Charles, you wanted to say something, yes?
Yeah, because we spoke with you, my friend, and it's like a puzzle in my brain. So I take the piece of the puzzle, and I remember when I was in a spaceship, Maria tell me, you are a special child, so your training is different from other child. And she called me, you are a superstar seed. And I tell, why superstar seed? And she tell me this word exactly. You are super starseed because you can teleport yourself without any device.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's never happened. So now I understand, because she tell me this, because the computer proof that was something very strange about me. And I'm very, very grateful the science can prove there is something very strange about my energy.
Implosive harmonics. And in fact, your new film is called Starseed 2, right?
Yes, exactly.
And, you know, when we go into the deeper physics of this, we see that what we're saying is the longitudinal compressional or scalar wave that's propagated in Bearden's equation is literally what a gravity wave is made of, which is an introduction to the true physics of astrology for the advanced student. But so when we say what a starseed is, what we're saying is there's this beautiful, magical fractal harmonic array, which is a nest, which Gurdjieff described. He said, stars and planets experience gravity relations erotically. What he meant was that array was in fact inhabitable and potentially self-aware, why it is now proven that orbital mechanics, not just in the solar system, but in the universe, are dominated by golden mean ratio. And for those who happen to know why objects fall to the ground, and for those who don't, fractalfield.com/conjugate gravity, but that's what stabilizes gravity, the same centripetal force that enables a lucid dream to become a stargate. So, but in terms of starseed transmission, what's beautiful here for John Charles is now we can connect an intro to the physics and the science to what is, in fact, in his case, a very dramatic and very well documented history of where his lucid dreams become literally so real that he has been there. Remember, we've been doing an extensive series now. If you see our YouTube channel, youtube.com/Dan Winter Fractal Field, many of those films are on the techniques for inducing lucid dreams. For example, one of the main ones is, of course, that great stillness, and it's nice to be at a magnetic, Earth grid line cross. As sunrise and sunset's a little better, equinox, solstice is a little better. All of that is because four-wave mixing means the four-wave right angles called phase conjugation. But the point is, then in that training, there is what's called the Mayer wave breath, which actually is exactly what Patrick was just talking about, that 6 cycles per minute, 0.1 hertz, which is also the LF, which we saw in Jean Charles' low frequencies. So intuitively and naturally, Jean Charles linked the low frequency, the 0.1 hertz, the Mayer wave, the LF component, to the brainwave alpha, to a cascade all the way up to the gamma, and that cascade looks like a caduceus, sometimes called Hermes, who is the returning of Deep Space Nine in that film, which are called the Cedar races, in this case, the star seeds. So,
and maybe this is the reason why I have an interaction in arc when I go to the tube with the spaces in stasis and the light on and the light off, because my DNA was very special. Now I understand. They feel my energy in arc, and why the arc have a reaction when I touch something in arc, and everything is explained now with this proof with my brainwave.
We should, a little background here for the people who are not familiar with the arc story. The star seeds purportedly left these structures deep underground, etc., in Bimini and in South Pole. And one of the things in there was this famous suspended in the air huge water sphere, which is in fact a Stargate portal. And what John Charles is saying was that, in fact, these arcs are triggered by the presence of those who have coherent aura, coherent DNA, what John Charles was just speaking about. And the ability to sense that presence, there's the old story among the lucid dreaming remote viewers that there's alarms for remote viewers at Area 51. Well, who designed the electrical engineering to sense the presence of a remote viewer? Well, now we know, this longitudinal wave node coherence. So, but the presence of that field of coherent aura is a trigger for many things. And the reason these things were called arc was because once our DNA becomes that implosive, remember the low frequencies of the heart trigger. We've measured the braiding in DNA, that implosion, goldenmean.info/DNA manifesto. We've spent a lifetime measuring the onset of recursively coherent implosive braiding in DNA, directly correlated to the onset of heart coherence. Realheartcoherence.com is another app from Patrick and I for measuring that kind of heart coherence. And so that it's a low frequency phonon cascade from the heart and brain, exactly what Patrick was just describing in measuring John Charles, that triggers the mechanical braiding process to ultimately implode the long wave into the short wave, the braid on the braid of the braid in the braid. And the DNA eventually becomes toroidal, implosive. And that's a moment when it's called the Lord of the Ring moment. It's called the moment of, that's why only one ring will hold them all, and only those who have pure intention, ...
And also what we have seen then is a very, very low frequency of the spectrum of the brainwave, which is related to the frequency of the spinal pump. So it means that his spinal pump is working fine and very, very accurate, because most of the people, this pump is fixed, is not working correctly. And so it's it's then very, very difficult to go to coherent state, because this part of the movement inside our body is fixed.
Yeah. So remember, Patrick has spent most of his life studying and doing the practice of spine liquid pump sacrocranial. Actually, craniosacral-app.com, Patrick's website, is all about the sacrocranial pump. And what he's saying is John Charles' ability to breathe coherently, creating that low frequency and the heart rate variability linked to brain coherence, proved that his spine liquid pump was actually pumping. As Upledger said, if your spine liquid is pumping, it's clinically impossible to be depressed. Well, more than that, that is the beginning of the lightning bolt that is the physics of Kundalini. We've documented that physics, goldenmean.info/Kundalini. So I guess the summary of this, John Charles, is you are to be congratulated. and we can use this now to empower young people. In fact, maybe what we could say here, something about perhaps Jean Charles, would be, okay, now if you're a young person and you're yearning for these kinds of experiences, practical next step, learn coherent breath, learn, pure intention. In fact, there's something about you, Jean Charles, which emerged with an intent from a very young age, which I would say would be a very shareable wave.
When I was 4, I think everything started when I was 4 and on the beach with my parents when I disappear. And after I come back, my abilities was very, very high at this time. Yeah. So I think something happened when I was abducted at this time. And before that, yes, when I was born, there is a lot of storm outside the hospital, exactly at the same place when my mother birthed me. I don't know how to say in French. Accoucher,
yeah.
Comment on dit?
It gave birth, literally. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. And this is strange, because there is a striking with a storm, with a lot of yes.
Well, we won't say this is a scene from the movie Powder, but
yes, exactly, the same scene, exactly, Powder, yeah.
But the physics is actually that it's been measured, in fact, that if you put an amperage, literally a short lightning bolt, through DNA, it's been the DNA will become measurably superconductive, literally implosive, and that's why Kundalini feels like a lightning bolt. But moreover, we can say that from Daniel Brinkley's experience of having clinically died at least twice in lightning and written the book about the near-death experience that resulted from lightning, that actually then anyone he would touch, he would get a flash and he could feel the emotions of the whole life of persons he would touch, because his DNA became superconductive related to the lightning experience. So all this sort of fits together in also, you know, why ball lightning is so famously responsive to telepathy.
I was dead in 9 minutes too. I was dead 9 minutes when I was in my, there is a few years, I work in a nightclub, and suddenly there is a fight, and I fall on the ground, and my head fall iron piece iron of a table, and my head blow, and my eyes wide open, and no heartbeat, no breath, everything was nothing at all, and somebody takes the care, but I was dead in 9 minutes before the emergency arrived, and suddenly in the emergency car I opened my eyes, but I remember at this time I don't see anything like a tunnel or everything, but I remember a white and bright entities, beings surround me, and I heard the song of Amazing Grace. But it's impossible in an emergency car, because there is a radio frequency. Donc they don't listen in this, okay? So I remember after that, the next day I work like everything is okay. It's impossible. I was a trauma like 4 level, okay? And a few days after, I go to a radiography for my brain, and the doctor tell me I never seen this before, because the radio is okay, and the scanner was lightning when I enter inside, and you have no injury. It's like you never fall in your life on your head, but it's impossible. So you are protected by angel, mister. Well, so it's a curious, you know, because I was dead in 9 minutes, and suddenly my head was like this, and in the 2 or 1 hour, everything was okay. And after that, I work the next day. So it's impossible with this injury, you know. And there is a lot of witness, 100 or 200 witness about that. Everything say John Charles is dead, and every people cry, because, oh my God, I have open eyes, and like a movie, horror movie, you know. It's incredible story about my near-death experience.
It's beautiful, because in this process, we can study the way through death, actually. And of course, we've always been saying that those who can lucid dream are the ones who will take memory through death. So studying the physics of lucid dreaming is probably one of the best ways to take memory through death. And remember, as we made a film recently with our friends entitled The Lost Art of Resurrection, in which we describe the fact that being able to come through a near-death experience, in the case of the Templars, probably a 3-day, and we say the Voynich manuscript was actually the way to induce the near-death experience intentionally, because by going into that array and learning to inhabit that larger array, almost like, but more than a lucid dream, which now we know is that longitudinal array called heaven, planes of Sharon. So the practicing of inhabiting that array and getting leverage on that array, some people call it, you know, the 4th dimension, but it's actually not quite the right word for it. In fact, what the harmonics of the cascade, a golden ratio, enable the next superposed axes of spin based on golden ratio, cube to dodeca, and that implosive process is what enables you to inhabit that array, and they call it higher density or higher frequency. But we're much more specific in describing what that mechanism is, that when you had, like the Templars, their initiation was a near-death experience, the lost art of resurrection, actually. And we'd like to credit our friends who are working on this beautiful science. But Jean Charles is another example. So, you know, immortality in that sense is real once we understand what it is to inhabit that array. And by now teaching the physics of the brainwave and the heart training and the breath training to inhabit that stillness implosively, and where your attention can move into that larger array, we're literally teaching the way through death. It's a beautiful thing. And thank you, Jean-Charles.
Thank you.
So I think that might be a happily ever after. What do you think? I think this is beautiful. So remember, this film for our FLAMEINMIND.com project is an introduction to new capabilities in the feedback and the software. And we want to thank Jean-Charles. In the article, FLAMEINMIND.com/lucidbrain. But also, this film is a teaser for Jean-Charles' new movie. Maybe tell people again the name of that movie and where to find it.
Starseed Revelation 2, about the sequel, about the first part, was in a part of my life, but now this is every people can see my video capsule about me, 15 capsule in Connection Alien, my channel YouTube. They explain a lot of things about my life, but inside there is the witness about everything I tell since a lot of years. So the people can explain a testimony, my parents, my best friend, a lot of things, and a lot of scientific proof, like you, my friend, and another person. For I don't want to tell the punch of my movie, but it will be amazing, blow our mind, and
spoiler
I'm
alert.
very what?
Spoiler alert.
No. Yeah, not spoiler, but I'm very grateful, guys. Thank you very much to the bottom of my heart to help me with the scientific proof, and I'm very, very, very happy. Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
And we're so happy to work with you. And just one last thought here in mentioning Jean-Charles' movie. So Patrick is launching the newest version of this FLAMEINMIND.com software to measure this heart-brain connection, how we were able to help Jean-Charles. So Patrick, just say briefly, what is it, about a month till that's released, and where we find that? Yeah,
probably during July.
Yes.
A few things to fix, but it's almost done.
So stay tuned to FLAMEINMIND.com and notice what we're measuring with that software is precisely what Jean-Charles did, linked the heart to the brain. Thank you from the bottom of our heart, Jean-Charles.
Thank you, Dan. Thank you, Patrick. Thank you very much.
We're becoming a shareable wave. Thank you. Blessings.
Thank you.
Okay.